Episode 104, our last episode of season 2.
Season 2.
Oh my God.
Can you believe it?
I can't believe that we're still doing this. I mean, my God, what a mistake this was.
End of April is 3 years since episode 1, man.
Is it really fucking 3 years?
Wow, we've grown so much.
Jeez.
Not really. We've not evolved
Pretty much
at all.
the same.
Pretty much.
Things have
Daniel
changed.
has a better microphone, but
haven't
that's about it.
changed.
The last 20 seconds of this clip is going to be the intro to our 2-year anniversary show.
I hope so.
All right, Daniel, kicking it off. Let's go, buddy.
Music.
Shit. Oh no.
It's the Don't Make It Weird podcast.
Yes. No, keep this. Just roll it, Sean.
It's been
Just fucking
so
roll it.
long since we've had something like this. God damn it! This is the intro to this episode. No, this will be the pre-roll, and then I'll do the actual music again. But God damn it, Dina, I've missed this so much. I went back and watched some of Daniel's intros from the last anniversary special, and how many times you like got stuck on a rug trying to slide in, or you accidentally bonked yourself in the face, or one of the dogs like jumped on you while you were. It's been so long since something like that happened, and I'm so thankful.
My heart is full right now. My heart is full.
So full. All right, Dina, do you want to fix your tears before we try for take 2? Okay.
I'll just show up crying. It's fine.
Yeah, you know what? It's a very emotional episode. Here we go, Daniel.
Yeah, let's do this.
Take 2.
It's the Don't Make It Weird podcast. With your hosts, Daniel and Dinosaurus.
Hi there! Welcome to the Don't Make It Weird podcast. We're your writing, storytelling, comedy podcast for the writing community, by the writing community. And guys, I'm so excited to get back after it with you all. This is going to be beautiful. We are very, very professional this episode. We're definitely all very sober, and everything that you hear in this episode is going to be perfectly legitimate. All right? Everyone locked up and ready? Sean, I don't like what you're doing right now. This really worries me that we haven't even started this episode. You've got smug Sean face right now. You know who helped me decipher this, guys? I'm joined, as always, by the quiet, quintessential quaker herself, Dina Saurus.
What's quokka?
Did you say
They're
quaker?
they're like the really adorable little rodent guys that throw their babies at enemies to flee.
Okay.
Yeah, no, Google that.
Did
No,
you
can
know
Google?
that nobody would know that you're stupid if you
quokka?
don't talk?
I think you mean quokka.
Quokka. Hey.
I said quaker.
Dude,
I
that
thought
was
you were
mean.
going for Quaker.
Oh,
but
Quaker.
You wanted
Quaker
to like
would've
throw a
been-
little spin on. You were like
the
Quaker.
Quaker.
Like, you know what I mean?
Quokka.
The Quaker Quokka?
Or like
Yeah.
cloaca, like Stevie Wildcard.
Yeah, the
introduced us
cloaca.
to.
Did you know that Daniel, it's not a headphone issue with Daniel, because when we were visiting in Atlanta this past week,
Yeah.
Daniel
He didn't
still
hug you,
didn't
first
hear.
of all.
Oh, yeah, let's talk. Well, hold on.
Yeah, we got a
Side
lot to
table
unpack about Dina's visit out here.
that. He did not hear any of my jokes
To be
because he
fair,
was so
Tim didn't either.
fixated with falling in love with Tim. No, Tim heard them.
Oh my
No,
God.
he
That's
didn't
how you
react.
guys know you're twinsies, because you're both in love with Tim.
Tim!
Oh, cute.
Tim is really a delight. Can I just say that he's an absolute delight?
Yeah, I know. He
He
knows
didn't like
too.
it when I talked about stripper laws in Missouri, but besides for that, I felt
Fucking
really
hates
good
how delightful
about.
he is. Look at her face.
I feel like outside of that one mishap, things went well.
Hurry up and intro Sean, because I need to tell the entire story for the stripper mishap. It was the
He has no
cringiest
intro
moment
for
of my
me.
life.
Listen, I cringed hard too. So, guys, if you're hearing a third voice, that's the only adult in the room, because let's get into Sean's business to defeat his buns. Did they give me, Sean, help?
Producer Sean, everybody.
Producer Sean, everyone. This is what happens. I don't write the intro. I tried to do this
Hi,
on the spot. It
friends.
didn't work out.
So, okay, here's what happened, Sean.
Uh-huh.
Daniel was trying so desperately
Okay,
to get
hold
Tim
on.
to
Whoa,
fall
whoa,
in love
whoa,
with him.
whoa.
No, it was fucking obvious.
First,
Let's
the
let her
fuck of
talk.
all.
Let her talk.
Hey, don't do a misogyny.
I'm sorry. Are you quiverful or not? Because you should be obeying
not.
us. You should be obeying us.
I'm very anti-quiverful.
Oh God.
Anyway, Daniel was trying so hard to get Tim to fall in love with him,
Mhm.
and he was talking up sports and
Uh-huh.
enduring fish talk and guns and all this. And then Daniel decides that the right move to say to my husband, who is a Christian who thinks that porn is a sin and has never
Allegedly.
been to a strip club
Allegedly.
and deleted Facebook because he was getting inappropriate ads. Like, the man is above par.
Okay,
I
first
mean, we
of all,
all
if he's
deleted
getting
Facebook.
inappropriate ads, those ads are targeted based on his search results and
those are
search
cookies,
history.
baby. Those are cookies.
So
They're also based upon demographic.
It was.
continue.
You know what? It was Midas who's been doing
Yeah,
the
okay.
researches.
So he Daniel decided that the thing to talk about was his experience in a strip club
No,
and
okay,
how the
wasn't
laws are
my
really stupid.
experience. Okay.
That you literally said, like, when I was at a strip club,
Okay, I
you
did
can't
say
get
that.
drunk
Allegedly.
there if they're naked, or you can't serve alcohol if a stripper's naked.
Mhm.
And the
That's
whole
true
car went
in most
silent.
places.
Yeah, no, it was so
It was
silent.
dead silent.
Like have you ever like had that moment where as soon as the words leave your mouth, you go, "I've made a terrible mistake," because that was that moment.
Never.
And
The whole
it was
car
so-
just.
Because okay, so what led to this is that we were having a talk about like weird hypocritical laws that don't make actual sense. And so the first one that popped into my head is like, listen, or if we're talking about like if you're going to a strip club, we're already talking about sin, den of iniquity. So why are we legislating this? Like, if you're going to allow strip clubs to exist, you understand what's happening at a strip club. And so I was like, so in Missouri, because of their laws, if the strippers are fully naked, you cannot serve alcohol. But if the strippers at least maintain a piece of clothing, then you can get alcohol. So you've got to make a
Which
business
is usually
decision.
a very, very small set of underpants.
Yeah.
Like to the point where it's like,
It's like
not
nipple
even-
tassels.
Yeah. And so in my head, I'm like, that's a crazy law that doesn't make sense. And that's where I was coming from. Tim had immediately stiffened up.
couldn't
and
relate, man.
became
He couldn't relate.
so uncomfortable. And I was trying so hard to backpedal out of that. I immediately was like, yeah, there's also laws in Virginia about not being able to walk elephants down a main street, which is a real law. It was bad.
Just so you guys know, Daniel's so awkward at strip clubs. He spent like a full lap dance at his bachelor party telling the stripper about why she should vote for Bernie Sanders.
Yeah.
But this was before the 2016 primaries.
Yeah.
So like he still had a shot, you know?
Yeah. This was back before, this was when Bernie fever was still a thing. Yeah.
Yeah. And he didn't even pay
Yeah, they took
attention
away
to
my
the strip-
money at that point, and my friends just said, "Hey, listen, we're just gonna control the finances the rest of the night."
Yeah.
It was a good conversation.
Dina,
What?
you were gonna say something.
Oh, I was gonna go back and say also, did you guys know that you can check the search history of everything of the internet based on your Wi-Fi router? I learned that. That was fun.
Of
Hey,
course
Sean,
I do.
You know, it's actually been a while, Sean. Can I just go ahead and send you my search history?
That's never been anything I ever wanted.
Okay,
Thank you.
it's sent.
I love that for you.
Yeah, no, I just sent it.
Anyway,
I just
But
got
no-
it. Boop.
But no, listen, it was a fun trip. Can we also, because I don't want to gloss over so I got to experience the Basenjis, the legendary Basenjis, for the first time face to face. Dina, do you want to tell them what happened?
oh, the first thing that Midas did was pee in Daniel's mom's house.
Yeah. So there's like
Was
a
it
little
right where
sculptured-
Daniel's sitting?
That would have
I
been
wish.
better. So like Miko's outside with Tim being a good dog. And Midas sees like on the floor, my mom has like this little sculpture like bust. And Midas sees it, kind of gets a little upset, kind of growls a little bit, gets really close to it, and marks his territory immediately. And I was so proud. I was so proud. Saved us from that poor sculpture.
Yeah.
But okay, now the third thing that we have to get to before we get too much further, we need to talk about Huggate, Dina.
There was no hug gate. You just didn't hug me the entire trip.
The yips aren't real, Dina. What happened? What was the first thing that happened when I first saw you guys?
He's-
Tim stuck our child out the car window and handed him to you.
Yes. So was I given the opportunity to hug at that point?
You had
so
it
like
all day.
Yeah, I
one
could've
hand
hugged
baby, other hand hug.
Okay, but Dina also had to pee badly and was giving me the death eyes. So I thought that was not the right time to go
'Cause
for
you
the
were
hug.
very late.
I was 10 minutes late. 10 minutes. 10 minutes.
How early were you, Dina?
We were there about 15 minutes early.
So you
That's
lied to me
almost
about how
late
long
by
you'd been
Dina's
there.
standards.
Yeah.
Like 15 minutes is almost late by
And then
Dina's
Daniel gave me the
standards.
wrong code to get into the house, so I couldn't
No,
pee.
I just forgot you had to hit 0 first. I didn't.
Way to just blow your mom's
No, but
passcode
that's
like
just
that.
that has nothing to do with her
What's the
passcode. That's
passcode,
just
Daniel?
no, it's 69 69 699 69.
0.
It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, Grandma. Now we got to change it again.
It's
Damn
347
it.
69. Weird.
4769 weird. That's 347 69 weird.
Yeah, it
Okay,
is.
and then the other time where it would have been appropriate to hug you was on the departure. But we had my child freaking out, incredibly cold weather, and everyone was tired and exhausted. So again, it didn't feel like the right
Cold weather is
opportunity.
the perfect time for a nice warm hug, man. You're totally missing all the cues here.
I feel like I read the cues properly, and while I regret Huggate, I feel justified in the lack of hug.
Incredible.
It's as quiet as the car right now.
Fuck you.
I felt the cringiness of that moment.
Just right there.
I did. I just felt it like deep
All
in
right.
my chest.
Well, you know what's going to get us out of the cringiness? All right. We had a guest last week. Her name was Z, Dezintra Sullivan. And Dina, what was your favorite part about the episode,
Close.
buddy?
I really liked the friend that she brought with her.
Oh, yes. that
The
was a pretty
boner.
Huge boner. She had a massive boner that entire show.
Massive boner the entire time.
Schlong.
just.
Yeah.
Sean, what about you, buddy? What was your favorite part?
My favorite part was when we made her play Family Feud against her will. That was nice.
Yeah, she got the taste of her
Or
own.
Booker Feud, as they call it on her show.
Yeah, with the book. Great
Yeah,
podcast.
with the book podcast with Sean Frazier, also a previous guest of the show.
Yeah.
Shout out.
Yeah, no, her book was so much fun, man. I loved having her on the episode. She's so quick witted, and there's just something about Aussies, man. You know, anytime you get an Australian on hang
Aussie.
out, yeah, it's Aussie.
We've never had another Australian.
Dude,
what are you talking
Aussie.
about? Oh, shit. I
Aussie,
spilled
it's a
my wine.
soft Z sound. It's not an S sound. For the love of God, learn to pronounce shit. And Dina, do you need another drink?
Dina, would you like a drink?
I have it
think
right
you
there.
do.
I just haven't refilled it yet. Because I don't know
We
how
haven't
long
even
this episode's going to be.
we haven't even not scratched the beginning of what we're doing, which is
Yeah,
why I
that's right.
think we have to skip Conspiracy Corner, and we have to skip unless you have something that's related.
Yeah,
to
we
the
got to go.
subject
We got to
matter
go do a
that you
quick
think
conspiracy
is-
corner. Yeah.
Oh, I don't have a quick one. I've got a very long one that's on my mind right now. So pop culture.
man, what's that
yay.
like to
Shout
have
out
a long
Ryan
one?
Garcia. We'll talk about him next week.
All right, so conspiracy corner will be tabled until next week. Sean, do we have time for a quick Daniel shower thought?
No.
Absolutely not. Not if we're not doing Dina's Conspiracy Corner.
That's fair. That's fair. All I'm going to talk to you guys about is switching movie and TV titles from anything that has duck to dick. Keep it in mind.
I immediately forgot that. Let's go on.
Yep. All right. Well, guys, we're so excited. We're going to be getting back into the cult. We're going to be following again We're going to be getting back into the cult as we're going to be following along with Shiny Happy People. It's a really great documentary about the Duggars. For those of you guys that don't know, Shiny Happy People, Duggar Family Secrets is an American limited television documentary series about the Duggar family and its relationship with the Institute in Basic Life Principles, IBLP. The series premiered on Prime Video
I
June
can't
2nd,
believe you
2023.
didn't just like stop so Dina could pee her drink out real quick.
I liked the ambiance. Like it really felt like it
There was a
added.
nice little dribble sound,
Yeah,
and you ruined it with your voice. Go on.
I ruin a lot of things with my voice. But no, we're really excited. We've talked about this once before, and for those of you guys that don't know, we're going to dig into a little bit of what Dina's history is, growing up with kind of this fundamentalist Baptist adjacent type of things. But I really want to give you guys a trigger warning because this upcoming discussion delves into topics related to religious beliefs, strict traditional gender roles, sexual abuse, and practices that some might find restrictive or controversial. Please practice good self-care and proceed with caution if you're sensitive to such subjects, or consider skipping the discussion entirely if it might be distressing to you. So Dina, for the folks at home that have lived under a rock and don't know anything about kind of your history growing up in a cult, why don't you give the folks a quick kind of rehash?
the kids?
So I was part. Why do you have children? I was part of the IFB, which is the Independent Fundamental Baptist Association, basically. Very restrictive, very legalistic in their translations of their interpretations of the Bible. Very oppressive of women. I don't believe that a lot of their doctrine is biblically based. I think they take a lot of things out of context. And yeah, I was in 3 different IFB churches. We got out, and you should watch episodes 1, 2, and 3 to see more.
And
Yeah,
that's
so
very true.
we're focusing on episode 2 in this episode.
No,
so
I meant of our show, like the cult.
Oh, the
the
cult
cult
episodes.
part
Okay.
1, part 2, part 3, because this is part 4.
It is.
And so, I also like to just make sure that we kind of state for the record that while everyone has different beliefs and stuff, we're not here to disparage anyone's religious beliefs. We're not out here to, make anyone feel bad for what they believe in or what their faith is. This is just a discussion about some of the abuses that can happen in these extremist environments. And we are going to make fun of it, and we are going to, just be us. But, this is the type of episode that we're typically a little bit more serious on. And, it's something that's has become kind of a passion for all of us, especially because we've gotten to secondhand experience Dina's life growing up in it. And I guess one
Dina's
thing
trauma.
Dina's trauma, yeah. But I mean,
Dina's trauma.
There we go.
I'm screen capping that.
But I mean, Dina, like one of the things I think that is really interesting before we like dive into it is like talking about, the trauma is that, every so often, like when we're all in like group chats or discussions, you'll always say like, you'll have like these, I can see these little like minor moments of epiphany that you're like, yeah, I act this way or react this way or still have some of these thoughts because of the things I experienced growing up in the cult. I mean, what's that like still kind of, even though you're out and have perspective looking back in, what's it like still seeing these long-term impacts on you?
Oh, stuff is for sure like deeply ingrained in me that I have to unlearn constantly. And it's, I don't know, like I'm glad that most of these moments happen within the confines of a group chat where I can be totally open and honest with you guys. Thank you to Shannon and Ranch as well. I like, because it could be awkward. It is awkward in other group chats that I'm in, like with coworkers that don't get like what just happened and like what I'm realizing or what joke I just made. So like I'm glad that it happens in the environment with you guys so that I can sit there and like I can think through things. But yeah, it can be kind of awkward sometimes, like when I'm talking to people and like I'm like, oh my god, blah blah blah, like I didn't know that, and they're like, well, obviously that's common sense, and then I have to like explain that I'm not a fucking idiot. Like,
Yeah, you're not in fact dumb. It's just you relate to it different things because of
yeah.
And so like I think that's one of the most interesting things is that you're never really fully out. Like it's got such hooks in you that it's hard even for people like you. And I'm always so impressed by anyone that gets out of these types of cults, survivors, because it takes real strength to not just get out the first time, but to stay out and to fight those types of negative.
Oh yeah, I have a friend that we tried to have on the show, but she had so many like internet issues, and like I haven't seen or heard from her since, and like I feel like she went back despite knowing everything that she knows about how it being a cult and like how wrong it is and all this stuff. So like, yeah, it's easy to get sucked back into because that's what you're comfortable with.
Yeah, it's what you know. So hey, Sean, give us a little bit of recap of what happened in episode 1 and kind of where this foundation started.
So last time we talked about this, we watched episode 1 of Shiny Happy People, which is Meet the Duggars. It basically covered the difference between the Institute of Basic Life Principles and the IFB, the Independent Fundamental Baptists. We touched on an intro to the Duggar family and their show, their beliefs, how they relate to and differ from IFB beliefs. And finally, we began to talk a little bit about the horrible sexual assault allegations against Joshua, one of the sons of the Duggar family. And guys, they go into it a little bit more in this one, and I just had no idea how horrible it was. So buckle in.
I mean, and that's what's so crazy about watching these shows and these episodes is, I mean, I've got pages of notes here of just little like moments because there's just so much to unpack about like what is revealed and just even some of the casual throwaway things that they say in there. And like sometimes you get hit with like a surreal feeling, you know? And it's like, it's hard, especially like, you know, we're all parents here, and it's hard to look at it through the lens of like, I'm an adult and I'm a parent now and seeing what happened here. So for those of you guys that don't know, some of the accusations against Josh Duggar is that he was accused of molesting 5 underage girls, some of them being his own siblings. And I guess I would start with you, Dina, is maybe I'm just the cynic here. 5 seems like a small number.
I don't believe that it was just 5, personally.
Absolutely.
I don't
There
believe that at
was-
all, especially like...
There was just a ton of downplaying of the whole thing. So
Oh, yeah.
there's no way it was just 5. It's 5 that we know of.
Yeah, 5 that were willing to come forward or were not coerced to stay in the shadows.
And like my experience within the IFB, within every cult that I was, all 3 of them, there are so many victims, and it's so normal that those victims don't even see themselves as victims. They don't even see what happened as wrong. If they do, their shame and their guilt and their fear of hell and damnation because of it. Exilation? What is the word I'm looking for? Being
Exile?
exiled?
Yeah, just being an exile.
Being exiled? Okay. Their fear of being exiled, outcast, that's the word I'm looking for. Their fear of being outcast keeps them completely silent. Like, the first church that I was a part of, like I said in, I think it was the first episode of the cult part series that we've done, none of those women have taken anything that happened to them to court.
Yeah.
That pastor is still roaming free because these women won't go to court. And it's, some of them aren't even believers in Christ anymore, but it's also a fear, like, that the church will never accept them again. Like,
It's
they
the
will be
hooks.
outcast.
Oh, and they'll threaten you. They'll use every emotional guilt trip. And on top of that, just
God
society.
wouldn't want you to do this.
And not to mention, it's the minute that women come forward, it's immediately, she's a slut, she's a harlot, she wanted this, she encouraged it.
What did she do? Yeah.
What did she do? I don't believe her. She wants something. It's all the things that happen in a non-religious sexual assault accusation case, but then you throw in the religious elements on top of that, and I don't know how anyone comes forward. I mean, like I said, it takes unbelievable courage and self-sacrifice, and it kills me, man. And like one of the things too that, and I know we're going to touch on it a little bit later in this episode when we talk about some of the roles of women that they discuss in this, but one of the ones that really stuck out to me was the whole concept of you're either a prophet or mercy, where, you know, the men, almost 99.9% of them were all on the prophet side, and the women were expected to be the mercy side. So it was the women's job to take on the sin, to take on the burdens, to take on all the unpleasantness. And I think that helps create that culture of sexual assault, because they say, well, my body's not really my own, and it's my job to take the sin so that he can be freed up to do whatever he wants to do. And so I think it speaks back into that psychological belief of, this is my job. This is what I'm on this planet to do. And if he needs to, you know, do awful fucking things to me, then that's grin and bear it, you know? So
in the IFB, we didn't quite have that I was aware of. In the IFB, we had like spiritual gifts that we focused on, and it wasn't just like prophet and mercy. And I think that they touched on it in an episode too. I watched it this morning, but I don't remember.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we didn't have like categories of prophet and mercy that I recall at all. We only had like spiritual gifts, and it just so happened that women mostly had like the gift of servitude. I think I can't quite
Or
remember
giver.
what they all were.
Was it giver?
Maybe I can't quite remember. But it just so happened that like where it would wind up where, oh, women just coincidentally all have the gift of servitude and giving.
so weird, right?
Yeah,
It's God's
that's
plan.
crazy. And it just put them into these submissive roles, even women that like I knew personally. I was like, there's not a chance in hell that that is your gift.
Yeah.
Like if you believe like not just IFB believes like in spiritual gifts, but like Christianity in general believes in spiritual gifts. So those spiritual gifts, like if you look at them, you're like, what? That you can tell very obviously if people do or don't have said spiritual gifts, but they would just kind of make it up, and like men would be preachers all the time. Like I'm called to I'm called to be a preacher. I'm called to be a pastor, and it was like they had like the gift of speaking or something like that. And I wish I could like quote the exact. I can like picture the verse in my mind right now, but all these men would wind up being called preachers, and you're like, you're what?
Yeah,
No.
yeah.
It was just a matter of this is the role that this indoctrination pushed on them.
Yeah.
So let's get right into the meat of this episode because we've barely scratched the surface, and this one is all about Bill Gothard, as opposed to focusing on just the Duggars.
Well, can I have one thing before we get into Gothard? Because that guy is a fucking psychopath. But one of my biggest issues with Josh Duggar, and we talked about it a little bit the last time, was that they talk about how he had a stern talking to, like that was the punishment. His family had a stern talking to him. He got a sheriff's deputy that saw the child pornography. He himself got fucking arrested for child pornography, and like all of these
Currently
people
serving 56 years in prison.
and all these fucking people enabled this. They brushed it off. They pushed it under the rug because they wanted that sweet fucking reality TV money, because they had to be these the religious doctrine was more important than the individual girls here. And like that was the thing, one of the things that just struck me and just made me so mad was that it's one thing for just his abhorrent behavior, but the amount of people in that community, in that area, in the family, outside the family, in the church, the politicians, the fucking police officers, all the amount of people that knew what was happening and did nothing. It almost boggles my mind.
Yeah, so that's standard practice within the IFB as well. We talked about it possibly on part 2. The pastor's son that had sexually allegedly molested this girl. That was the main thing, and unfortunately, even my dad was a part of it, where we'll handle this, we will talk to him. That was such a common practice. And in the third cult, I know 3 or 4 young men that were caught up in like disgusting porn scandals and goat fucking, and everybody's response was always, he needs to have a talking to with the pastor. Like the pastor will counsel him, the pastor will guide him. There was never any actual consequences. It was, let's have a heart to heart, let's sit down and repent of this and have a revival, and you can go to camp and you can do some volunteer work, and that'll teach you a lesson, because God has a hold of your heart. God doesn't have a hold of those men's hearts. If they've already done this, then there's no evidence of Christ there. So it just, yeah, that was common practice.
And it's absolute hypocrisy, because these are the same people that are spouting family values, moral values, upstanding, all of this, and how great God is and all that stuff. And again, this isn't a knock on religion. These are people that act terribly, like fucking scum of the earth villains, and hide behind godliness and pretend like they have any fucking say in this. And it just, I try not to get too worked up, because it's not about me getting on soapbox.
They hide behind religion, and it's not actually, there's no God in any of their actions, but they hide behind the religion because it protects them, and because the world outside of said religion has this idea of who these people are. And yes, the world still thinks like, oh, they're hypocrites and they're shitty, but like they still see them as these godly people that like these do-gooders. They see these do-gooders is what it is.
Yeah, and like that's the most crazy thing about the Duggars is that was part of the image they appealed to the show is they were so wholesome. These kids
Obedient
were so
children.
obedient, well behaved, like
In
you
line,
said.
yeah.
Yeah, they're all just quietly all
Their
practicing
kids aren't acting
violin.
out.
Yeah,
Their kids aren't causing a ruckus in Walmart. Like
yeah.
their kids are helping their mother. Like they're hiding behind a facade.
And the fucked up part is that there are a lot of people in this world that are going to look at it and go, yeah, it's a shame that he was a pedophile and a rapist and all that shit. But, I mean, they're on to something about the family. So maybe if you take a little bit of the, sexual assault away, yeah. But so let's go to the core of this, Dina. Bill Creep Master General Gothard. Sean, tell us a little bit about him.
Oh, Bill Gothard. Who is this piece of shit? He
Who's this
founded,
motherfucker?
he founded IBLP in the 60s and developed the 7 basic life principles focusing on authority, responsibility, and grace. His teachings have significantly impacted evangelical Christian homeschooling and family practices. And this piece of shit has faced multiple allegations of sexual harassment himself. So he is no longer the leader of the IBLP. He resigned in 2014 as a result of these harassment allegations. But yeah, that's who that piece of shit is.
If I remember correctly, we also I think I'm wrong on this, so don't quote me. We don't know who the current leader of IBLP is.
We can Google that.
It's
and
Bill
people are
Gothard.
thinking
Yeah,
that
so
it's
fucking Bill Gothard.
well, people are thinking that it's Jim Bob.
Wouldn't be shocked.
Oh, it's Jim Bob. Okay, let's not get too
Jim
far
But
ahead of
I
ourselves.
don't
Come on.
Remember if I'm correct, but yeah.
And like the crazy thing about it, like as I was watching it when they were talking about what Bill Gothard did, because like the difference between a lot of these churches and these church movements is that a lot of times there is home base at XY location, and then their teachings sprawl out, and everyone kind of builds off of this. Bill Gothard
Sister
had,
churches.
yeah, he had no home base. He had no starting church. He had no like spot the spiral from. I mean, he might be the fucking original pyramid scheme, man. This is all an MLM with a freaking religion tied behind it. And like, it was crazy because it's like, all right, hey, you're going to come to me. All right, then all of you guys are going to take this pamphlet. You're going to go to your church, your church, your church. And it spread like wildfire. And all this dude did was get an insane amount of money. And there's a lot of money still in that whole movement. Like, that's the crazy part.
They hide behind the concept of tithing, which we can argue that, but that's not biblical, so thank you.
Yeah. I'm with you like that. I mean, like I said, I mean, it's the impact is absolutely insane. I mean, the creepiest part to me was how in depth the discussion on spanking was.
Oh my God! Wait. You can give your thoughts on this,
Yeah.
but I want to show you guys something. You can keep talking, Daniel.
Okay, are you about to? Okay, I don't know if this has anything to do.
You
with
know
spanking.
she's excited because she got up.
Yeah, I was gonna say this is big time excitement here.
And you know Daniel loves spanking because he skipped like 8 topics to go to it.
straight to spanking.
Are you ready for something?
Yeah, I'm ready.
Oh my God, she has the book.
You have the fucking
To train up
spanking
a
book.
child. They specifically called out this book in the episode.
Oh
I
my
have
God.
never opened or read this book,
You just
but
did.
I was I realized as I said that I was like, shit.
You just opened it as you.
Yeah, I was raised on this.
I mean, like, it was so creepy to watch that clip of whoever that one fucking random ass pastor was just gently spanking his child on stage. And
That
like,
was not his child.
That was a pedophile.
First of all, that was that was not his child, which makes it even more alarming. Bill Ligon was his name. Bill Ligon or Ligon, Ligon. He wanted to demonstrate how to spank a young boy and bless them at the same time. So he asked for a parent in the crowd to volunteer their young boy so that he could take them over his lap and spank them on stage while he repeatedly said things like, "You're going to be a great man and a follower of God." And then he let him get up, asked him for a hug, said the hug wasn't good enough, and spanked him more.
Jesus Christ. Yeah. That
In
was
front of an
probably the most
audience.
uncomfortable I've been in an entire
I was
show.
I wanted to skip it so bad, but I was in research mode.
Guys, there's potty training in this.
You're
I'm assuming
reading
just
it?
beat the shit out of them until they stop peeing themselves.
She's about to shift her whole childcare dynamic.
I mean, and that's the thing that just was wild to me is that obviously there's always gonna be debates on spanking and stuff. I have my feelings on it, which is don't fucking teach your kid that violence is the answer if you're upset. But
that's a focus. That's like a main fucking part of the principles of ATI.
yeah, because they want to break you. They said it multiple times. The whole goal is to break you, to break your will, to break your fucking independence.
And it starts as young as 6 months old.
As someone who has a kid
abuse.
under a year old, I can't fathom the concept of they misbehave, so you spank them, and then you continue spanking them until they stop crying or you're pleased with their reaction. And they said that the spankings could last hours. It just physically made me sick.
How long do you spank your children, Dina?
Yeah.
Since you're now using that book to bring up your children.
Yeah.
As somebody with a 9-month-old today, fuck, I forgot to take his picture. Oh my God.
You still have time, Dina.
9 months in 1 day is too late.
I can't imagine spanking until he stops crying. I can't imagine blanket training because
blanket training.
Blanket training. So what you do is you set the child up on a blanket and you have a toy that they want really bad, like their favorite toy or something, and you set it off of the blanket and you tell them that they can't move off of the blanket until you say so. Your 6-month-old is going to be reaching for that toy. It's their favorite fucking toy. And you spank them every time they try to grab the toy that you're putting in front of them. And that's not how
6 months.
That's not how a 6-month-old works.
It's not, and listen, and they even say those creepy dudes with the giant beards that were in that episode that were talking about the spanking. Yeah. They were sitting there and they're like,
he specifically said, "There's nothing wrong with introducing a little psychological terror into your punishment for your children." I don't know if that voice is even close, but
yeah, no, that was spot on. No, that was beautiful.
I'm all about. I am pro disciplining your children.
Yeah,
I think that children are not disciplined well enough.
Train them like you train your animals.
Parents.
That's what days.
That's what it was.
Yeah, he said train them like, and it is true. I've seen people that do that. They're like, all right, you show your dog a treat, but you don't give them the treat until you tell them to come to you and get the treat. And it's like, do you want a fucking functional human being or do you want a dog? Because if you want a dog, just get a dog. I still am against you beating the shit out of your dog, you asshole. But
I understand wanting to discipline your child. I understand wanting an obedient child. But I don't understand spanking them until they stop crying doesn't make sense.
And I think
spanking them for hours doesn't make sense. Blanket training doesn't make sense. He's 6 months old. He doesn't know. He does not understand. He can barely fucking see.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I'm a big believer that there's a lot of ways that you can instill, because I agree with you that discipline as a concept is a good thing, but there's a lot of ways to instill discipline in a kid that doesn't involve beating the shit out of them, that doesn't involve psychological warfare, that doesn't involve laying hands on them, because all you're going to do is perpetuate that cycle of violence. You're going to make it worse for their entire life and maybe their kids' lives.
So I know so many people that were beaten with rods because rod and staff is a biblical.
What is your favorite spanking rod?
Yeah, I have a rod.
Yeah, your preferred rod of spanking.
That's for Tim, though. We already know that.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ. Yeah, people take rod too literally, in my opinion. I know people that were beaten until they stopped crying. I know people that were beaten until they cried. I know.
To clarify, you didn't endure this, but you knew people who endured it.
Oh yeah, no. I mean, I got spanked with a wooden spoon, never the hands, and my dad stopped spanking me when I was.
Did you ever have to go find your own switch?
No. Oh my God! But I know people very
I know
close to me
people
that
who
did.
have had to go
Yeah,
find their own
I've
switch.
heard-
Yeah.
I know
And
those
then they were
people.
told it's
And
not
their
big enough
hands.
or it's not long enough. Go find another
Yeah.
one.
My dad
Jesus.
stopped spanking me when I was like very young, like 3 or 4, because he didn't want me to ever think that it was okay for a man to hit me.
Yeah.
He was very, very big on that. He emphasized that a lot.
I like
My
that.
mom still spanked me for a few years after that, and I don't have a problem with how I was raised that way. I think that it was respectful. I think that it was done correctly. I was disciplined. I obeyed, and I don't view anything that happened to me as abuse. But
Yeah,
I
and-
know lots of people within the IFB and obviously ATI and IBLP that it was abuse. Like,
Yeah. And obviously there's nuance to the topic and there's differing conversations. And when we're talking about nuance, we're talking about like reasonable individuals that aren't fucking, abusers.
like the psycho lady from episode 2 of Shiny Happy People that was like, it took me hours till he stopped crying.
Oh my God, her teeth. How she was smiling all big the whole time.
Oh my God,
That's a very common practice. That's a
Oh my
common
God.
practice.
He was bringing me shame. So I just spanked him and spanked him. I was like, oh, no.
Yeah. Yeah.
We're talking about a fucking baby. This was
Yeah.
like a fucking, what, a 14-month-old or some shit? Like,
Yeah.
it was... Oh,
It-
God.
It's such common practice too, is
Her
to talk
smile,
with that smile.
dude. Her big wide eyes and the
Because
big
God
toothy
just always
smile.
brings us so much joy, and we never experience any sadness.
Jesus.
So
And
he brought me shame, and that was just a problem.
And by the way, even though Dina's doing this as a joke and it's fucking hilarious, her ability
Literally a
to
perfect interpretation.
shift into meek, submissive housewife voice is equally terrifying too. Because like they said, like with Jill Duggar, they're like, she was a cheerleader. She could be loud and vocal, but all you hear on the TV is, yeah, so it's really nice that the kids are gonna go and make some dinner tonight, and
The
like
kids are gonna go make some dinner tonight, and we're gonna have a great time. We're gonna sit around by the
Everything.
fire afterwards, and we're gonna talk about what God did in our world today.
They called it infantizing themselves.
Fantasizing, yeah.
Yeah, that was the women were expected to have meek and mild demeanor and voice, is to never be loud or anything other than submissive.
Yeah, honestly, I thought about when Sean comes here for vacation, I really wanted him to go to a cult church service.
oh my
And
God,
I was just gonna
please.
like, I'm not gonna do that to him. That would be fucking miserable.
Please,
I was
no,
just gonna
no,
put on my IFB like
Oh my God.
demeanor and everything. And like I was
But
gonna
you have
have
to
us
wear
record
jeans.
it.
Oh my God, no,
I
Dina,
wore
Dina.
jeans on my last day there.
I know,
Yeah.
that's why I said that.
Yeah.
Dina, if we get an opportunity to have all three of us in the same place in Florida, 100% we're going to a church service. I want to be a part of
Oh my
this.
God.
I
Let's
want this
talk about
so
it again,
badly.
though.
It'd be
Like the whole,
horrible.
in addition to the voices, the clothing, like you weren't allowed to wear jeans. You got to wear the long, bulky dresses or skirts and the big old pilgrim
Pilgrim.
columns.
I
or
actually
collars.
just got rid of my last outfit that I had that was IFB.
Why would you
approved.
do that?
Why, Dina?
It was therapeutic.
Some
You
g-
could have
some-
been
Yeah.
like zombie Michelle Duggar for Halloween or something. That would have been great.
some people are like, "Hey, baby, show some skin." Blah blah blah. Me and Sean are like, "Hey, can you put on that pilgrim hat?
Hell
Get
yeah.
that Peter
Hell
Pan
yeah.
collar going for me.
Get that Peter Pan." Yeah.
Frame your face perfectly with your hair. Yeah, girl.
Yeah, baby, don't make eye contact with me. Look at the floor. That's right. Jesus, but no, but like,
Speaking of eye contact, you want
No.
to talk about the eye trap, Daniel? I know
yes,
you've been wanting
really
to talk
do.
about this.
I really do. But before I do that, because we were talking about the girls' voices, but you were talking about like in the wide smiles when they're doing that stuff. Gothard and Duggar and all these guys, they do the male version of it too. And it
They
is
have the
just-
same, like,
Yeah. God is good as we beat our children.
Oh
Oh
my
God,
God, the
you're
guy
doing
that
it
I thought I
so,
was gonna
boys.
marry, he had the perfect Bill Gothard
Like-
smile.
Oh
the
God.
pastor smile. Yeah.
And I think that that's the part that terrifies me more. Is it's kind of like the God, what was the character's name from American Psycho?
You
Christian
talking about
Bale's.
Christian Bale?
Yeah, no, I mean the actor, but like, what was the character's name? It was. I keep wanting to say Norman Bates, but that's the different one.
No, that's
Um,
Psycho.
Yeah, I know. But anyways, but like it's the same thing. Like his whole personality is that he's very outgoing. He smiles
Patrick
a lot.
Bateman.
Patrick Bateman, there it is. Very outgoing, smiles a lot, super friendly and outgoing, but then he's actually a fucking serial killer. And like that's the same vibes I get with Gothard in all these guys. It's the same like hollow, like, isn't God good? We're all under the umbrella
the guy that
together.
I like was absolutely in love with, I caught him so many times like accidentally dropping his smile or like showing a little bit of true emotion. That's why I was like
Believe it or
totally in love
not,
with him.
straight to hell.
Straight
to
to
hell
hell.
for
Yeah.
that. Yeah.
No, and that's the thing. Like, I guarantee you he was absolutely convinced that because he dropped his smile and if somebody saw him, he was done.
And I think that was one of the really interesting points that I had on the notes here. Sorry, we're just kind of continuing to flow on this. Was that they said that they push so hard, like like being a critical thinker about yourself, about breaking down every action you do so that you're not paying attention to the church. You're not paying attention to the system. They want you to be a critical thinker only in the mirror, not anywhere else. And like
on high alert at all times to make sure you're not doing or thinking about doing anything that would be considered sinful or shameful and burn in hell for all of eternity.
When I was like waking up and like realizing what was going on, I got a bumper sticker. My dad bought me a bumper sticker because him and I were both talking about just like waking up.
Believe it or not, straight to hell.
Straight to hell.
Bumper sticker, straight to hell.
Not having a bumper sticker, straight to hell.
That said, question authority at all times. And I remember I showed up with it on Sunday, and it was my own truck. Like, I showed up alone because my dad was sick, so my mom was home taking care of him. And the pastor pulled me aside after church to talk about it because he wanted to know what I meant, if I meant government authority or if I meant him. And I said yes,
and you
I
said
left.
yes.
Yes.
Yeah, I said,
Also, he said bumper stickers go on your car, not your ass. Get those off of your jeans.
But I mean, like that's the type of stuff that just like, for some reason, that one line just like really got to me, because then I started thinking, I was like, that is something that a lot of people deal with, where we're so hypercritical of ourselves, but then we're not willing to turn that same thought process outside, and like how much it affects us and how much that allows cults and places and organizations like that to control you, because they keep on preaching this whole be responsible, be self-aware.
The system can't be wrong.
Yeah, you
No,
just do
it's
better
me.
in
no,
the
it's
system.
God or it's Christ ordained.
Yeah. And so it's like that just, I don't know, like that's the one that like stuck with me, because then I just started thinking about it and just applying it to other areas, and I'm like, yeah, we are so big in society of look inward and at your own fuck ups, don't worry about the rest of it. And it's like, no, you can actually question all this. You know?
Yeah. Conspiracy corner with
Dina. All right, now let's go to the one that I'm really excited about, because Sean touched on it just a minute ago.
Oh
Eye
my God.
traps. Hit me with those eye traps.
Yeah. So eye traps.
Dina's an eye trap right now.
Yeah, she is.
I am actually.
I can see your elbows, Dina, and it is really distracting.
She's
my
got a deep
ability
V, you
to-
guys. She's got
Yeah,
a
I've
deep
got a
V.
deep V. You can see that I have boobs. So.
Her hair is
Dina.
up. Her hair is up and not framing her face. It's also not straightened.
Yeah.
Which you said that you had to straighten your hair, whereas emphasis was put on curling your hair.
Yeah,
in the
that was
Gothard
when I
episode.
saw that was kind of weird, because IFB and IBLP, not the same, but very, 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 very similar, and like a lot of crossover and intermingling. I was the only one that ever had curly hair in any IFB church that we were in, and I always felt pushed and compelled by the other girls and other parents to straighten my hair. So it was kind of weird when the episode
Gothard.
of Shiny Happy People was like, yeah, we had to encourage our hair to be curly. I was like,
The men
what?
always want what they can't have, right?
Yeah.
So if they have naturally straight hair, then they're like, oh, then you need to curl it, because that's exotic to me.
Well, I'm pretty sure that it's in the Bible somewhere. I'm pretty sure Paul Gothard wouldn't lie to us. It said, and on this day, girls shall have the curliest and bounciest
what-
of hairs.
I'm pretty sure Samson had curly hair. Or
What
something,
verse
yeah.
of the scripture says men inherently have eye problems, and the eye problem is they can't help but look at eye traps, and it's up to women
Trust.
to not be that, to not
Yeah, no, I'm pretty
wear
sure that's
crazy
in
makeup or wear their hair up or show any skin or just exist really.
Yeah.
Um,
No. Be super responsible for yourself. Except if a woman's wearing clothes, then fuck it. I mean, we're all guys, right? I mean, Dina, boobs, am I right?
She
Yeah.
probably winked. She probably winked, man, and that's like she's a sinner. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Definitely a sinner.
It was kind of confusing as a teenager. This is just occurring to me. Like I feel like I'm having a flashback. It was women. Our entire goal was to attract a husband. So we had kind of mastered eye babies was a big part of this. We had kind of mastered flirting, but not flirting with your eyes. And
That's all you had.
yeah, no, for real. Like that's
You're wearing
all
a
we could, we couldn't
burlap
talk to
sack.
them.
You're wearing a burlap sack. Your hair's under a pilgrim hat. All you got's the eyes.
And we couldn't talk to a man, so all we had was our eyes, and we kind of mastered that. And I feel like the system definitely set us up to fail because that would be considered an eye trap. We are looking at him trying to seduce him to become our husband, but we know nothing about men, so we are seducing a man that is not allowed to have any sexual desire, not allowed to look at us sexually without it being our fault, but that is the only thing that we are bred to do.
You're supposed to convince a man that you are the one that's gonna make his babies for him without saying anything, without showing anything.
But then think about it. But then think about what the role is, because they always said the dad has to be the one in charge until the very moment of that kiss at the wedding, and then the husband's
then there's
in
the
charge.
handoff. Yeah.
So that dad is basically a pimp. Like, think about it in that thing. It's like, listen, I know you can't see it, but my daughter, she's got some incredible boobs. Like what? Like, I'm not sure. I understand that that's a fucking exaggeration.
I'm pretty sure that's exactly how it works.
Yeah, but they have to sell and be like, no, she's super pretty, man. She's gonna do anything you want to do. Like I can't imagine. I already my daughter is about to be 6, and I can't get over the fact that someday she's gonna date. I can't imagine having to try to sell another man on dating my daughter. Like, literally sell them on this.
Do you want me to like delve into like how it works from the daughter
please.
perspective?
Okay.
A lot
We
of
already
times
know you were supposed to get married a couple times, right?
Yeah.
So
And livestock was involved, and that's a true story.
My dad tried and failed. Yeah, courting was the main emphasis, and courting is not the same as dating because you court because you are quote unquote dating to get married. You don't.
According
You
to
are
Bill,
getting into
it's an
the beginning
upgrade.
of the relationship knowing that you are going to marry that person, which I sort of adhered to in my relationship with Tim. Like Tim and I, we were like, yeah, we like each other. Let's see if we like each other enough to get married. Like, our goal was not to just date and fuck around. Our goal was to find a spouse, which I support that.
Yeah.
But courting is like, you don't know anything about this person and you're going to marry them. This is just like a couple months to get to know each other.
And you have chaperones everywhere.
Yeah, you're never
But not
alone.
only that, like once a man comes to you and says, I'm interested in courting you, like you just have to go with it, whether you're interested in this dude or not, right?
Yeah, right. Luckily, I never had a man interested in me. Huh? Just kidding.
Curly hair. That sinful curly hair.
Actually, didn't have. I had
You
one guy.
failed at
That's
the
a different
cult,
story.
dude. You just straight
I
up
did-
failed.
I failed in every aspect of cult life. Looking back now that I'm out, I failed at every aspect. And I am so grateful that I did. And I think that my dad kind of knew the whole time, but like it was a subconscious thing. I think that he set me up to fail, and I'm so
That's
grateful
so
for that.
Sweet. He knew you were a failure and he just embraced it.
He
Yes.
was like, yeah, she's
That's
she's
my
gonna
little
fuck this up.
failure.
We're not gonna do that.
I'm so proud of you for being bad at this, sweetheart.
I think that okay, so from the daughter perspective, I liked boys. I had crushes on boys. I had friends that had crushes on boys and liked boys. And I was always too scared out of my mind to tell my parents that I liked boys. And my other friends that liked boys told their parents, and their parents approached the other parents to see if that son was interested or if they thought that it was a compatible match. That is my experience with my friends. I have other friends that were, God, I hate saying the term friends because, like I said before, we in reality were not. But anyway, I had other friends that were never interested in boys because it was completely up to their dad.
Sorry,
Go ahead.
like going off
go
of
ahead.
that one woman that like told her experience at the very end of the episode where she's talking about, you know, she was always told there would be like a spark, that they would feel something, that she'd, you know, realize this is her soulmate. And she goes, I never felt anything. But I also didn't have a choice. Like, and I think that that's like one of the terrifying things because, like you said, they want to marry you off. They want to marry you off young. And your opinion as a woman doesn't actually matter as long as, you know, parents think they're a good match for you.
Is this the same woman who was raped 3 times on her wedding night? Yeah, that was brutal.
Oh, dude.
Oh, wait. Let's come back to that part because I have a lot to say about that. But going back to courting and like quote unquote being sold off, my dad could tell when I was interested in a boy, and there was one boy that I confessed that I did like. And like my dad's approach to it was not, he didn't tell anybody, he didn't tell the boy, he didn't tell his parents. He just like got to know the boy and like kind of took him under his wing. I want my fucking hat back, motherfucker.
Hey, if you're watching this, give her fucking hat back.
Respect that hat. Turn it to its own.
So, my dad just kind of like took him under his wing and like became his like manly mentor and like, gave him family
His
heirlooms
mentor,
that I want back
His
now.
mentor.
Yeah, mentor. So that's how my dad approached it. And at the end of the day, I think my dad realized, he was like, this is not a manly enough man for my daughter.
Not enough.
She's too bold.
Yeah,
Anyway,
he probably liked Daniel if you met him. So that's a red flag.
I think that he would like you. You'd be like my brother, and he would just want to punch you all the time.
That's fair. I would deserve
But he'd
that.
love you.
Oh, I appreciate that. I know
Okay,
I'd love
so
him.
getting raped 3 times on your wedding night.
Oh.
I had heard 1 or 2 women talk about being raped by their husbands that had been excommunicated by the cult while I was still in the cult. And my mindset there was that's not possible. He's your husband. A husband cannot rape a wife.
Yeah, you just
It
gotta be
is
ready
not
all the time.
possible.
Yeah.
They were absolutely, well, it wasn't even that. Like, it wasn't, think about it, because, like, I didn't have a concept of sex.
Yeah.
I just knew that, like, rape was sex outside of marriage forced on somebody. But I didn't know what sex was. So
You didn't have the book yet.
Yeah. Oh my
yeah,
God.
right.
I will pay money to get that book because I will read.
Dina,
on
Dina
Amazon.
said, hold on though. Dina said that she probably has a copy of it or access to a copy of it
Yeah.
in one of these episodes.
I can't find it, but it is on
So,
Amazon for like $17.
Dear listener,
All right,
Dear
send me a
listener.
link about this because I will do a whole run of cringy compilations that are based
There
purely
is
on this
Amazon
fucking book.
book. There's a fucking
in my
book they
Amazon
referred
cart.
to as the IFB Kama Sutra.
Yeah, the
And
Christian
it
Kama
said-
Sutra.
It said the wedding night on it, and it came with a companion CD so you could listen to it. And as per one of the people who were interviewed, it had instructions on how to do one sexual position, which we assume is missionary.
Has to be
'cause
doggy
that's
style.
God's position. And also detailed instructions on what, Daniel?
Hand jobs. Of all things, hand jobs. So, Dina,
I sent
Don't
that to
say
the
it.
wrong chat.
Don't do it.
Dina.
Good Lord. I need to go see where that went.
Dina,
Intended for pleasure, sex technique, and sexual fulfillment in Christian marriage. So that's not what Jim Bob gave to Joshua.
I just
So
like that. I like that the emphasis is on no other part of sex. They're like, listen, you either need to lie here or just give a bored hand job.
So here's the thing with that book. That is the book.
At
It
any
is
time.
not the CD and DVD that they listen to on their
Oh,
car
so
ride
that's
home.
not the upgraded
It is
one.
the book.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do they have it on Blu-ray now? I'm just asking for a friend.
Yeah, we because I would like to know how to give
Serious
better
sex
hand
ed.
jobs according to the Christian style.
Yeah, I would love to do that on a cringy compilation. Not today, unfortunately, but
Yeah, like some
they'd
people want to
also
role
said
play, and I just want to. I just want Miriam. Listen, give me an IBF hand job, please.
IFB.
IFB, sorry.
It said not only detailed instructions on how to give a hand job, but also encouragement to always be available for your husband, no matter what, was also a caveat of the book.
So, I mean, according to this, if Tim walked in here, you'd have to say, hey, guys, done episode. I have to go lay with
I wasn't going to go there, but I was curious
Yeah.
if Tim walked in and said, hey, I need a handy. You would just leave.
Yeah, what you mean? It's like,
Or would you just have him sit off camera and you just be over
Yeah,
here
but then-
and
I
continue with
think
the
it would
conversation?
be wild. Never mind. I'm not going to go down that rabbit hole.
It would be what?
no, Dina, hold on.
I was about to divulge way too much about my husband. Anyway,
Yeah, don't do that.
We'll do that off air.
yeah, no, that is what it meant. And actually, I have a really weird and uncomfortable story.
Please tell us.
Oh my God.
My friend that was a sinner like me, we had similarities. We were not
similarities.
Yeah, we were not. We got yelled at a lot for being friends because we were real friends and we weren't like cult friends. She
Getting
spent
my
the
fingers
night
all in this one.
at the house of the boy that I was like in love with, and he had 6 or 7 siblings. Anyway, they were all like hanging out in a room. It was past bedtime and they shouldn't have been awake. But anyway, she said that she heard his parents getting real down and dirty.
Thrusting?
like whips and chains type of shit. She only knew what it was because she was a dirty, rotten sinner. But they just like turned on a fan.
Hold the fuck
And
on.
we're
You also
like-
said you have similarities, and now I have questions about how many whips and chains you have.
Singularities.
Similarities.
Similarities, like similarity.
Yeah, like a similarity.
Yeah.
So,
Yes,
so
play
since
on
you guys
words.
are
Daniel
both
gets it.
dirty, no, I got it. Since you guys are both dirty, rotten sinners, Dina, are you telling the audience at home that you have whips and chains at your house?
She had nothing to do with the whips and chains. It was his family.
He's so distracted by the whips and chains. He did not hear any of that story except for the whips and chains.
Well, okay,
part.
I'd be able to
no.
pay attention better if Dina wasn't such a goddamn eye trap right
if-
now.
Here's the
Oh my
thing.
God.
If anybody pulled out any whips and chains, I'm gonna shoot a motherfucker. I don't know.
Sorry, continue. I apologize. I'm
We're not
derailing
doing
us.
that. Anyway, yeah, and they just like turned on a fan, and like the kids were like trying so hard like not to have a mental breakdown as they listened to their mother. Get it? So,
She
IFB
can
is
get it.
really dirty and disgusting, but privately. And yes, women always have to be ready and do things that they don't want to do.
It's so, I mean, like going off that, like to the serious side of it, because like one of the people that was in the episode commented, and they said that, you know, this hyper repression leads to hypersexuality. And
Yeah.
is that something that you would say that you've seen? Obviously, I'm not talking about you, but like as a cultural.
Yeah, I did.
thing.
I
Yes,
didn't.
He's asking about you.
I didn't experience it. I'm not like a hypersexual person. I'm really not.
We know.
I am more sexual than I was in the cult, but yeah, I know some really disgusting people that got out and like
The look on your face really just.
because I've just heard so many disgusting stories from people that have gotten out that like overshare because like they've still got that cult mentality of just like opening up, giving it all, and then also like yeah, and I know rumors that of people who have had to sit down and talk to the pastor of disgusting things that they've done, like the goat fucker and
Yeah.
like porn addicts and like disgusting porn that should never be seen in the light of day that have had to have a talking to with the pastor, and
Sean's had
yeah,
to try to
people
have
that
a
have
similar
gotten out and that
similar
like they're
talk with
into
me.
like shitting on people and shut the fuck up, Daniel. And like it's just really gross and nasty. Yeah, it's definitely leads to hyperfixation or hypersexualization.
And I think that's kind of one of the more like interesting adverse side effects is that the more you repress these types of things and the more that you say it's a sin, I mean, that's just part of the human nature. The more you tell us not to do something, the more it creates that fixation and that fantasy, and it gets fucked up and harder to deal with and to cope with normally, because you've been told it's so wrong and you have no outlet. You can't talk about it. You can't explore it. You can't find other people that maybe are like-minded. And so it creates this just fucked up situation, man. And hearing how she was raped 3 times on her wedding night, and I guarantee it happens all the time in these types of environments. And there's got to be a lot of depravity. I mean, when we're going back to Josh Duggar, they talk about, he was on Ashley Madison. He is, fucking porn stars. He is doing all of these
For the
things.
listener who doesn't know, ashleymadison.com was a hookup website for married people. People sign up to cheat on their spouses, and he was discovered as a member of that website.
Yeah. And so, these people that want to have this godliness, this purity, create a culture that has the reverse effect on it, because you create a bunch of sexual deviants that are so deeply repressed that the only way that they can express themselves is in this vile and horrid manifestations of sexuality.
There was even the mention of boys can't change baby girls' diapers.
Yeah, because then they would have seen...
Yeah, younger sisters' diapers. They would want to touch their genitals if they changed their diapers. That's what they said. Yeah, it's fucking horrifying.
And it's just, I always go back to, as a parent, it hits different because you can picture yourself.
All because of that repression and that,
I don't even I don't understand, from a psychological perspective, and I'm sure that there is some sort of theory out there that explains it, but I don't understand how the not repression, it's literally keeping them in the dark. They don't know this stuff. Right. How does it lead to all these rapists and all these pedophiles? I don't know how not knowing about sex does this, but it does.
Because it's you're overcompensating for it, probably.
Yeah, and it's not that they're not going to know about sex. They're just going to get sex
microphone, Daniel.
Yeah, they're going to
speak into the mic.
Sorry. All right. So it's not that they're not going to get information about sex. There's no way you can keep people completely ignorant, because even if you put them in a cave and give them no information, they're going to start exploring their own body or someone else's body.
They're going to hump something. It's just human nature.
Yeah. And then what happens is now they're getting bad information, and then they're being told the hyperfixation on themselves that they're worse people, so then they repress it. Just like a lot of the worst homophobes, the people that are, the biggest gay bashers and all that, so many times they turn out to be gay themselves. You become fixated on the thing that you're taught to hate, and it just grows malignantly in you,
Yeah. So, yeah. I'm just thinking from my perspective, I wasn't taught about sex. I wasn't that. I didn't know, but I feel I turned out pretty fucking normal. I don't know.
I mean,
she's still never kissed her husband, by the way.
Yeah, I haven't.
Yeah, I haven't.
We skipped over some pretty critical stuff
Yeah.
early on in this discussion that we need to cover before we wrap it up.
Yeah.
If you needed another reason to think that Gothard's a big piece of shit, his entire ATI teachings were basically started because he didn't want white kids to have to go to school with black kids when desegregation happened. So he started emphasizing the importance of homeschooling and saying that public schools are going to brainwash your children. And really, it was rooted in racism, and he didn't want pure white children to be around black children in schools.
I mean, and it was, and everything he did was around that too, because I remember when they were talking about, obviously rock music and Satanism and all of that, then they're talking about,
African.
the rock music started in West African jungles. And I'm like,
yeah,
okay.
I mean, black people did invent rock and roll. Let's not get that twisted.
Oh, no, I agree with that. But I'm just saying, it's not fucking the originators of blues and rock and blues were sitting in the jungle in West Africa going, well, since my baby left me.
Yeah, that's exactly how it went, actually.
Oh, okay.
I read that in my ATI manual.
Your ATI manual.
Are you ready for this?
Yeah, let's do it.
Yes.
The first black member of a cult and the first black pastor of a cult that I had ever met or seen was in the third cult. This was 2015, 2016.
It took you until
And it was
2015 to see your first black person?
2014.
She
No,
was
20,
shocked. She was absolutely
20,
shocked.
2013. Closer to 2013, yeah.
I'd been dating my wife for 2 years for the first time that you saw a black person.
Here's the thing. He was that wasn't the first black person I had met, but like first
religious
cult member.
Okay.
First cult, like, and he was studying to be a pastor under our pastor.
Did he believe in segregation?
Maybe, I don't know. He was treated so poorly, and he was such a spectacle within the church that he wound up leaving and going to a different state.
Good on him. I mean,
good on him.
It sucks that he had to do that, but like the hooks weren't so deep in him that he just endured that, you know.
To be fair, I think he's still within the Baptist realm, but I think he's more up north.
I mean, hopefully he found a church that's more accepting.
I mean, listen, dude, there's some fucked up people out there. I mean, like the one of the dudes that might be running for like governor in North Carolina has come out and said that he wishes that black people could give white people reparations and thank them for slavery. This is a black
Jesus
politician.
fucking Christ. Okay, let's not get too political with it. At the end of the day, like,
anyway, yeah, that was the first black cult member, black pastor I had ever met. Was 20. I really think it was 2013.
That's crazy, man. Wow.
And he was treated so poorly, and like, I don't remember personally having any problems with him or thinking anything differently, but I remember a lot of people a lot of kids my age making jokes, and I probably laughed at them, because that was what we were in, and it was really sad and disgusting and gross, but yeah, he was not treated like an equal at all.
It's so freaking heartbreaking, man. I mean, it's just...
So after all this, we learned about, basically the episode focused on the teachings of ATI, and it talked a little bit about the allegations, but I'm sure it's going to get a lot deeper as we go along. At the end of this episode, we were told that TLC canceled the Duggars TV show, which I'm sure Jim Bob was in shambles.
Oh, yeah.
And they were in full damage control, and they were like, how do we salvage this? And even TLC was like, listen, we want to salvage it too, because you guys are fucking cash cows, and this thing just rakes in viewership. So they decided they were going to force the two victims of Joshua's sexual assault, his younger sisters, to be on their own show. And they kind of touched on that a little bit, but didn't really go into it. And that was pretty much the end of the episode.
No, and I mean, we haven't even talked about the fact they had to go on there and basically make an apology on his behalf.
They went on that interview with Jim Bob and Michelle and basically defended their brother and was like, he's a good man, and it's not
we didn't
his
even
fault
know
and
what
all this
happened.
bullshit.
Yeah.
And they showed one of the girls, and she, I think it was Jill, who said like, I would have never done that knowing what I know now, like all that stuff. But yeah, that was rough to watch. And they made her watch herself on that interview, and she's just like cringing the whole time. That was rough.
Yeah.
That was very common too for victims. The victim at the church that I was a part of, where the pastor's son went to jail, she had to make an apology. It obviously was on Fox News, but she had to come before a lot of people and make a statement and apologize.
And that's part of being the mercy, right? That's taking on the sins, taking on the burdens of everyone else. They had to protect their family, because that's how the family made money and had influence. And so they felt that the only way that they could do it was to go on there and basically be like, no, it was
for
cool.
God.
Yeah.
They didn't want people to think that God, they didn't want any negative light on God and Christianity based on one man's mistake that wasn't really a mistake.
Just nothing negative at all. Everything was twisted to be a positive thing, no matter what. Like, it's just like negative things, and like controversial and like confrontational things are just not on the table.
And like one of the lines that jumped out to me was the whole, oh, we didn't even know anything happened. It wasn't until he told us the version that we're like, oh, wow, he did something to us. It's like, the fuck are you talking about? Absolutely not. Like,
Yeah, I don't believe that. I don't believe
So-
that they didn't know.
yeah.
Dina, we learned all about the ATI teachings that originated from this piece of shit, Bill Gothard.
Fuck Bill Gothard.
And we know your experience with the cult didn't necessarily mirror all of those things. You did experience a number of those things, or knew people who experienced a number of those things. But just for the listener, like many of these things you didn't have like firsthand experience with, and every person's like experience of stuff like this is gonna like vary. Is that correct?
Yeah, no. So I every single time that I think about this topic, I'm thankful for my dad, and he never told me, at least, that he openly knew like this was happening and like laid it out. But I think that there was a part of him that knew, because I was not ever subjugated to the curriculum of ATI like all of my friends were, and I do mean all. I was never subjugated to being a Gothard girl, which we'll learn in a later episode.
Did you
I
learn your
was-
mathematics through baking? Like the
Yeah, that's right.
fractions?
You only learn fractions.
Actually, so I didn't only learn fractions, but I did primary.
Half a cup of flour.
Yeah, primary was cooking. But then my dad also was a big mathematician. Like he wanted to be a mathematician, like actual mathematician. So he did emphasize a lot of educational skills. And my dad was very scientifically based, intelligent, and loved math. So I got very lucky there. And my dad was actually a math teacher. So I got like a solid education, whereas my friends did not. But yeah, fractions and cooking and stuff, that was
You know
a
that-
base.
and then the thing
Dina
is
didn't do
that's-
well in primary cooking class because she sets her kitchen on fire like once a week.
It was the metal in the green beans. Fuck you, Bird's Eye. Fuck you, Bird's Eye.
Fuck you, Birdseye.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But like, I mean, like, I think that that's the craziest part is it's not that the girls and the people that grow up in these cults are stupid. I think that's like the cheap way to say it is that, oh, well, they're dumb. I can't imagine that they, weren't smart enough to get out of it. And I think that's cheap. Incredibly intelligent people, but when they are purposely withheld education, basic education, given wrong education, because like one of the things they say in the book was like, oh, our hands don't have living atoms in it. Like they're just making up shit and trying to make it sound like
That was
pseudoscience.
wild to me. As somebody whose father was very scientific, that was wild to me to hear in the documentary. I was like, I always knew that like I have cells, like
Yeah.
moving atoms. Like that was crazy.
Yeah, and so one last thing, I want to end on a happy note before we get on to, well, not a happy note, but a little bit of a lighter
A
note.
shiny
shiny
happy
people.
note.
Yeah. On that note, Cabbage Patch dolls being satanic.
Oh yeah, Cabbage Patch. No, they're not just satanic. Hold on, let me check my notes.
Yeah.
Cabbage Patch dolls have been cursed by a fucking wizard or some shit. Hold on, I can't find it in my fucking notes. I have so many fucking notes, you guys.
So do I. That's what I'm saying. Like, dude, we spent almost 2 hours on this episode, and we barely scratched the surface of one episode of this show.
Cabbage Patch dolls are cursed by a warlock. I'm sorry, a warlock.
Warlock.
And it wasn't just one person who said that. Like multiple people said we weren't allowed to have Cabbage Patch dolls. And a couple of people were like, I was told an elaborate reason why, but I don't remember exactly what they said. And then they had a couple of people say that. And then one person went into the whole explanation of like, every time a Cabbage Patch doll is made, it's then cursed by a warlock before it's put into the packaging. And it was dead serious.
I know.
Oh,
Dina,
and
were you
Barbies
taught
are
about
harlots.
Cabbage Patch
Barbie
dolls?
dolls are harlots.
Okay, so first of all, I had Barbies. Much to my father's
whore.
dismay.
You
Much to my father's dismay, and I remember another friend.
Did you have tiny like nun outfits for your Barbie? Did you have Quaker Barbie?
Barbie now comes with switching rod to beat their child.
My father was so upset that my mother always insisted on Barbies. And I love my Barbies. I still have them.
Listen,
I'm not
they just have
ashamed.
a smooth
Shout out
crotch
Ken's
and no
dick.
nipples. Like there's nothing anatomically
dick.
correct about a Barbie.
Yeah, I
Shout
had
out Ken's
Barbies,
dick.
and I had one other friend that had Barbies, and she was not allowed to undress the Barbie herself. Her mom had to change the outfits. Anyway, Cabbage Patch Dolls. I was one of the people, I cannot for the life of me remember what the reasoning was, but I remember walking into Walmart. It was Christmas time, and there was a Cabbage Patch doll on sale, and I was like, I want to add that to my Christmas list. And my mom gave me this elaborate reason why not, and I assume it was a satanic
Warlock.
one. Maybe it was just that the pastor said no, but I remember not being allowed to have Cabbage Patch Dolls, and in high school, friends would reference Cabbage Patch Dolls, like, from their childhood.
Yeah.
And I would be like, yeah, I never had one. They'd be like, oh my God, how did you not? Instead, I had this, like, knockoff, super bulky American Girl doll. I also later got an American Girl doll, but yeah, I had this, like, really weird.
Incredible.
It was the lettuce crop gals doll.
So the next
From
I don't know. I called them like
is
Naked Baby or something because like I
Oh
didn't
my God.
like any of their clothes, so the baby was always naked. I don't
That's
know.
fair.
Anyway,
Yeah, I was gonna say. I mean, listen, we'll do the next part of the Kickstarter. Is that for your book, something special coming out in September?
September.
September 19th,
Yeah,
2024.
Yeah, and the Kickstarter starts in March. We can sell Cabbage Patch dolls, or we can maybe, if people donate enough, you can buy your first Cabbage Patch doll. Dina, do you think that that's
Somebody get me a Cabbage Patch doll. I don't understand the appeal of them, honestly.
But now you can
yeah,
say you
get
can
me
own
Cabbage
one.
Patch
So
Doll.
You never actually got one. I assume that's how you got your magic powers.
the Warlock.
No.
All right, so you
No,
guys,
never
so
got
on the next chapter of this series, Bill Gothard and Jim Bob Duggar grow their shared vision into an international empire on the backs of young people with unpaid labor, abuse, and threats of retaliation.
This is how
They
Paisley
build
Adams
until
got her
Gothard is
powers.
finally cut down inside of his own organization, but the roots he puts down are now spreading everywhere. God damn. Let us know what you think in the comments. Let us know on our voicemail, man. 347-69-WEIRD. Leave us a message if you're watching along with us. If you have a question for Dina about her experience in her cult, let us know, man. 347-69-WEIRD. 347-699 3473.
Dina, I need this to be like headcanon. Like, can we have a flashback scene in book 3 where Paisley opens
Cabbage
up
Patch?
a package? It's a Cabbage Patch kid.
Cabbage Patch doll.
And that's the
Oh
first
my
time that
God.
she gets her discernment powers.
That was the Screaming Pumpkin. The Screaming Pumpkin was actually just a Cabbage Patch doll.
That's what it was.
Wow.
All right, guys. Well, listen,
Is it
thank
too late
you
to change that?
Yeah, I was gonna say, yeah.
Can I edit?
Yeah. But hey, guys, thank you so much for checking out this episode. I hope you guys like our cult episodes. They're a little bit of a a little bit different than our normal ones, but I think it's a really important discussion, and I think it's a fascinating topic. And so I hope you guys enjoyed as much as we do, and I can't wait to jump back into the next Duggar insanity.
When I was a kid, I thought that a penis looked like a nose. Just so you guys know.
But this is
It
also
doesn't?
the universal sign for vagina. So currently you are sexing yourself.
That's not
She
that's-
threw a V over her mouth and nose just for the listener at home.
Yeah.
Oh my
Yeah.
God.
Yeah, it's definitely sexual. So Dina, are you so excited about our next guest? I can't believe that we've got
I'm so excited. I can't wait to see they, them.
I mean, of all the people that Sean could get, it's this fucking person.
How great is that? I can't wait. Their book is amazing.
The best
How about
book
we
I've ever
talk
read.
how about we talk about our live anniversary special, which is happening on March 29th. It's our 2-year, almost 3-year-ish, something like that anniversary.
We didn't
this
learn
is
math.
the last episode of season 2 of Don't Make It Weird. Thank you so much for enduring a second season of Don't Make It Weird. We can't wait to be back for season 3. Please come watch our live show, hang out with us, have a drink. It's going to be so much fun. March 29th, 8 p.m. Eastern, right here on YouTube.
Should
And
I have
no one has to wear pants.
Please wear pants. Should I have cranberry wine for my book release or for the
Yes. The
Yes.
answer is yes.
Yes.
I only have one bottle.
All right. Also adding to the Kickstarter, in addition to Cabbage Patch Kids, get Dina some cranberry wine.
Shout out, please.
This isn't a wish list.
The Cabbage Patch and cranberry wine.
That's all
You should be one of those Igorleys that puts a wish list in your bio. That's what you should
I've
do.
always wanted to do that. I'm not gonna lie.
All right, Dinosaurus D, where can the folks find you?
You can find me on Twitter at Dinosaurs D. That's D like D.
And Mr.
Producer
Donk?
Sean, yeah, me.
Where can the folks find you?
You can find me on Twitter at Dan Q Writes Thing. That's Dan Q Writes
It's
Thing
Donk.
Nobody asked.
singular. And also on my website, Dumps for Dank. And I think I do have a real website too now.
DanielJQuigley.com.
Yeah.
What a stupid
Also,
website.
dumpsfordank.com.
It's a
Shout
really
out
I could
Daniel
just
Word.
make it go to your website too. Like we could
make it all go full circle.
Yeah.
It's fine.
Perfect. No, I'm in for it. Producer Sean, where can the folks find you, buddy?
You can find me on Twitter at ShaySoldu.
What you having for dinner tonight?
Hey,
Dina has a question.
Dina,
Hold
men are
on.
talking.
Sean, I don't have a question. I just
Oh
wanted
my
to tell
God.
you that you look really nice in your beanie.
Oh, thank you so much. It's
Dina.
beanie weather
Welcome.
here in California for the one day a year. It's wonderful.
But I do need to know what you're having for dinner, buddy.
Yeah, same.
I'm doing a leftover special, man. I've got like 4 days of leftovers that I can choose from. I'm probably gonna have some soup because it's soup weather, baby, and I've made soup twice in the last week. It's
Okay.
happening.
Do it. Get
Are
that
there
soup.
potatoes in that soup?
So I don't have potatoes in either of those soups actually, which is unusual. I went with barley. I made a mushroom barley miso soup with some.
I forgot
Mushrooms
what
that
barley
my-
was for a second.
My coworker grows mushrooms, and he gives me his homegrown mushrooms.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, those
They're
some
Yeah.
not
California
magic
mushrooms.
okay? And I also made some chicken tortilla soup, so I have those two to choose from.
But Dina, we're clear he has no potatoes in this. I mean, this is definitely a spanking offense,
You guys,
right?
I usually have potatoes with every meal. This is so unusual. Okay.
John, Dina's going to have to spank you, buddy. I'm sorry.
I will
Okay,
never
go get the
spank.
rod. All right, you guys, jazz hands.
Jazz hands!
Don't Make It Weird with Daniel Quigley, Dinosaurus, and Sean Holden. Produced and edited by me, Sean Holden. Theme song by Amaria. Incidental music and sound effects provided by VoiceMod, as well as the YouTube audio library. You can rate and review this show on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Good Pods, and wherever else you download your podcasts. Got a question for Daniel or Dina? Call the Don't Make It Weird hotline at 347-69-WEIRD. That's 347-699-3473, and leave us a message. It could be featured on a future episode. And if you haven't already, please subscribe to Don't Make It Weird on YouTube for the video presentation, or on your favorite podcast app for the audio-only version of the show. Thank you so much, and we love you.
Don't make it weird. Was that okay?